If you're like me, Batman is possibly your top favorite fictional character of all time. Things like the Dark Knight trilogy only help to set this in stone. However, there's an unintentional game tie-in for the Dark Knight trilogy that stood the test of time and quality. Well, 3 out of 4 ain't bad. Carving itself out a place that didn't require you to watch the movies to enjoy. Now, it's possible that Batman is the most popular fictional character in American culture. Created by Bob Kane and heavily refined by Bill Finger, the character's debut in the 27th issue of Detective Comics in 1939, Batman became one of, if not the best-selling series for Detective Comics. I still find it funny that we say DC Comics when comics is already in the name, DC, so you're essentially saying Detective Comics comics. Batman originally started very, very different than the Caped Crusader we know and aspire to be today. His look was radically different, but thanks to Bill Finger, the groundwork for what we know as the Dark Knight today was laid. However, why would people become such diehard fans of a billionaire playboy like Bruce Wayne? Shouldn't we all see him as some out-of-touch, removed figure that can't possibly resonate with us? That's the thing. Through his childhood trauma, watching his parents die, Bruce Wayne was subject to hardships that many of us have faced. Batman is the fulfillment of the anger, the sense of injustice. Bruce Wayne's actions as Batman is what many of us wish we could do. Go out there and beat down the criminals of the world, save the innocents, and own the night. But it goes even deeper than that. Once you get past the surface level motivations of the Dark Knight, something far more inspiring comes about. You see, I don't think Batman is vengeance. I don't think Batman is fear. To me, Batman is a symbol of hope. In fact, a far greater symbol than a character like Superman could ever be. You see, Superman is invincible. Batman is not. It's the fact that Batman can be beaten down and broken, but if you don't kill him, he will get back up, and he will not give you a second chance to beat him. Through planning, training, and willpower, Batman will figure out how to utterly destroy his enemies, without killing them, making them live with their defeat. At the end of The Dark Knight, Gordon's speech,
"Because he's the hero Gotham deserves, but not the one it needs right now. So we'll hunt him. Because he can take it. Because he's not a hero. He's a silent guardian. A watchful protector. A Dark Knight."
To me, this is the true essence of Batman. He can take the hunt, he can take the beatdown, he can take the stress, because only he knows that he can. Only Batman can guarantee that he can handle the pressure, so he takes it onto his shoulders so that no one else has to. That willpower, that determination, that self-sacrifice is what makes Batman such a cultural staple. And if his character did not have the tragic past, I don't think we would believe his motivations as much. And the games only reinforce Batman as a pillar of hope that everyone looks to for guidance. What can be said about the Arkham series other than it makes you feel like Batman? Honestly, that's all this retrospect needs to be. Any piece of media, especially a video game, that can make you feel like a character as legendary as the Dark Knight himself, needs no other review than that. But for the sake of singing the praises of this series, I'll continue on. You see, up until Arkham Asylum, Batman games were, well, less than stellar.
Every time you exit a screen, another panel pops up. I guess they were trying to make it look like a comic book, but it's just awkward. This kind of fighting style just doesn't work for a platforming side-scroller like this. It just slows things down. Whenever you knock somebody to the ground, you gotta wait for them to get back up again. You hit them again, and it just goes on and on and on. Within the first minute or two, you come to a wall, which is pretty much a dead end. You can't do jack shit.
If you want a taste, go watch the Angry Video Game Nerds expose on the many Batman titles for retro systems. Needless to say, the Arkham series brought Batman into the modern era, and for once, we're all better off for it. What made the Arkham series stand out above all else was its originality. Asylum felt like you were playing an episode of the animated series. We start with the apprehension of the Joker, as if the game is starting off just after a Saturday morning run of the series. Batman thwarted one of Joker's plans, and is now personally taking him back to the asylum. However, this is all according to the clown's plan, as shortly after entering the asylum, Joker springs his trap, in short fashion, taking over the facility. Batman must now figure out a way to stop this insidious plot, fighting through the darkest depths of the asylum, uncovering more of the Joker's plan, which is ultimately to use the modified venom serum one of the asylum doctors is experimenting with, and make an army of roided-out Joker goons. Arkham Asylum feels like a Saturday morning cartoon, and I cannot fault it for that. However, it was City that brought Arkham into its own league, making the story far more complex and engaging, expanding the asylum to the size of a small town. Not only did this give the player far more freedom, but it allowed Rocksteady to expand Batman's movements, giving you more sense of freedom. City also set itself apart by making bold moves, like killing off the Joker, as well as Talia al Ghul. Origins, while a larger map and gameplay almost one-for-one the same as City, its story is not as good as it could have been. Making the game about the Joker when it could have made itself stand apart from the rest of the series by exploring Black Mask, like it should have without the twist. Night, from an overall story point, is excellent. While I'm not a fan of the Joker hallucinations existing throughout the entire game past Ace Chemicals, I think the near-apocalyptic plan of Scarecrow, mixed with the gravity of the Arkham Knight's military capabilities, makes for one of the most high-stakes Batman stories ever made. With the world size now spanning a good portion of Gotham City, and the Batmobile giving you rippingly fast traversal of it, Arkham Knight quickly became my favorite of the 4 games. And I'm also a big fan of the Freeze DLC, having the tragic villain that is Mr. Freeze finally get a somewhat decent ending. Mind you, I'm not big into the comics. I prefer the games and movies. Because of this, the reveal of the Arkham Knight being Jason Todd did technically come as a surprise to me, though given that I don't really know his character all that well, I also wasn't shocked by it. Ignoring the reveal of the Knight, which most people saw coming, I think Arkham Knight is a satisfying conclusion to the Arkham series, especially when compared to games like Gotham Knights and Kill the Justice League. No! Asylum's plot is, as I said, just like a Saturday morning cartoon. Joker is plotting a dastardly plan, and it's up to Batman to stop him. It's over the top, it's bombastic, and it was exactly what the series needed to set itself apart from everything else. After thwarting one of the Joker's plots, Batman personally escorts the clown back to the asylum himself. Soon after entering the compound, Joker is able to escape his confinements and get loose within the facility. Tracking the Joker to a security cell transfer station, Batman is faced with a heavily mutated prisoner. However, this battle ends shortly after the monstrosity suffers what appears to be a heart attack. As Batman fights through more of the asylum, he encounters other villains, such as the Riddler, in voice only, Victor Zsasz, and Scarecrow. Later on, Batman discovers that Bane is the main subject of Dr. Young's Titan project. The venom compound that Bane uses to achieve his monstrous form is also responsible for the mutated prisoners Batman has faced throughout his time at Arkham. Though it's revealed that once the Doctor learned who was supplying her the funding for these experiments, that being the Joker, she tried to cease the project, which the clown doesn't take too kindly. After defeating Bane, Batman saves Dr. Young from Victor Zsasz, to which she explains that the Joker has obtained her Titan formula and plans to create an army of Bane-like henchmen to run havoc in Gotham. After an explosion kills the Doctor and disorients Batman, he gives chase to Harley Quinn. After dealing with her, he discovers that Joker has a Titan production facility in the Botanical Gardens, where Poison Ivy is now residing, after having been released by Quinn. Batman enlists the help of a reluctant Ivy, under threat of torturing all the plants on the island. She informs him that a spore only found in the sewer systems might hold the key to counteracting the Titan formula. Before Batman can begin his quest for the potential antidote, Joker announces that he's given Ivy a dose of the Titan serum, which causes her plants to grow exponentially, covering the island in her vines. Batman descends into the bowels of the asylum, collecting the spores, while also doing battle with Killer Croc. Upon reaching the surface, Batman travels back to the gardens to stop Ivy before she can overwhelm the island. After her defeat, Batman emerges from the gardens, finding out that the Joker is starting his party. Once at the visitor center, Batman is allowed special entry into the building, which has now been twisted into Joker's signature style. Batman is shot with some of the Titan serum, saving Gordon from it. Batman's resolve allows him to resist the changes of the formula. However, Joker, disappointed that Batman is ruining the fun, injects himself with the compound, mutating him into a grotesque, hulking version of himself. During Batman's fight with the mutated Joker, he's able to inject himself with the antidote to fully cure himself of the Titan serum. After an arduous rooftop battle, Batman beats the Joker down with the aid of his explosive gel, finally rendering the monster version of the clown unconscious. With that, the police are able to re-establish control of the asylum, while Batman rides off into the night to stop a robbery in progress. Arkham City is where we get a far more complex and gritty story. Now that Arkham Asylum had made its mark, the series was ready for the stakes to be raised, Batman to be pushed to new limits, and make some decisions that would rock the fanbase to its core. With the establishment of Arkham City by Dr. Hugo Strange, all of the asylum's residents are placed in this repurposed version of the Narrows. The thugs and criminal masterminds are left to their own devices, allowing chaos to run rampant. Bruce Wayne publicly opposes the creation and function of the city, and while doing a press conference in its opposition, he is arrested by Arkham City's security forces. Once in Arkham City, Bruce dons the Batsuit and begins his mission to take down Hugo Strange and stop whatever Protocol 10 is. While on this mission, Batman tracks down the Joker in order to try to figure out what this mysterious plan of Strange is. Upon investigating his compound, Batman is ambushed and subdued by the clown. After being injected with some of Joker's venom-poisoned blood, Batman is put on a timer, his life now ticking away by the hour. Not only this, but Joker has sent his tainted blood out to multiple hospitals across Gotham as one last insidious joke against the city at large. Batman is now tasked with not only stopping Hugo Strange, but figuring out a cure to Joker's illness, and therefore his own. The Dark Knight commissions Mr. Freeze to make the antidote to his illness, who reluctantly helps Batman. Freeze had already been working on a cure previously, but could not render a stable version of it. Batman deduces that Ra's al Ghul's blood would be able to complete the formula. The detective travels deep under Arkham City, revealing Wonder City underneath the current structures, a long-forgotten attempt at a utopia. It's here where the League of Shadows has a base of operation. Batman reunites with Talia al Ghul, who witnesses Bruce succumbing to Joker's illness. He's led to a chalice containing some of the Lazarus compound that Ra's uses to extend his life. This gives Batman a much-needed temporary recovery from the sickness. After deceiving Ra's into believing Batman will join the League, the detective is able to siphon a blood sample off their leader and return to Mr. Freeze, who is able to synthesize a stable cure. However, the cure is stolen by Harley Quinn during Batman's battle with Freeze. After confronting a seemingly cured Joker, Protocol 10 is activated. The Tiger security forces in Arkham City begin wiping out the criminal population. The Dark Knight is trapped under the rubble caused by a missile impact from one of the security choppers in the city. Talia saves Batman from the Joker by allowing herself to be taken hostage. After Catwoman rescues Batman, he struggles between stopping Protocol 10 and saving Talia. He ultimately chooses the selfless route and makes his way to the Central Tower. Upon stopping Protocol 10 and Hugo dying by Ra's al Ghul's hand, Batman is able to go after the Joker. However, in their final battle, not only is Talia killed, but due to the Joker's own actions, last bit of cure Batman saved for the clown is destroyed. Joker chokes out his last laugh. In Arkham Origins, we pick up on Batman's story about 2 years after donning the cape and cowl for the first time. At this point in his vigilante career, he's still seen as an urban legend among the Gotham police force and civilians. Batman is the apex predator in the underworld of Gotham. He's faced no real threats he can't simply beat into a pulp with his expert combat. However, this creates a desperation in Gotham's criminal world. Black Mask, a major crime boss, puts a $50 million bounty on the Dark Knight's head. The game begins at Blackgate Prison, where a breakout is underway. Both Black Mask and Killer Croc are working side by side, causing mayhem in the prison. After Black Mask kills Commissioner Loeb, Batman gives chase to the mastermind of the prison break. Black Mask escapes while Killer Croc takes on Batman, ultimately ending with Croc's defeat. This is when the Dark Knight is made aware of the bounty on his head. 8 elite mercenaries are trying to cash in on this one-night offer. Deathstroke, Killer Croc, Deadshot, Firefly, Shiva, Electrocutioner, Copperhead, and Bane. One by one, Batman is able to take down these mercs. Starting with Electrocutioner at Penguin's lair, who goes down the easiest of the 8. Deathstroke, who is also present at the arena, puts up a much more substantial fight. Batman embarks on tracking down Black Mask, who appears to have been murdered, the most likely culprit being someone going by the name Joker. The Dark Knight then infiltrates the GCPD in order to access the police database and cross-reference the DNA found at the crime scene. This is also where he and Barbara Gordon have their first meetup. Upon gaining access to police records, Batman pieces together that it was a decoy Black Mask that was murdered in place of the real one. Joker seems to have the real Black Mask hostage. His investigation also reveals that the Joker seemingly plans to use Black Mask to access the various banks of Gotham under his control. Upon arriving at one of the banks, Batman finally has his first encounter with the Joker, who turns out to have stolen Black Mask's identity. After this confrontation, he finds the real Black Mask, the steel mill, but is attacked by Copperhead, who poisons him, leaving him in a vulnerable, disoriented state. In quick fashion, Alfred is able to synthesize an anti-venom and get it to Batman, allowing him to defeat the mercenary, who then reveals the Joker is actually gathering the remaining assassins. Tracking Electrocutioner's electromagnetic signature, he discovers the meet point is at the Gotham Royal Hotel. Joker pushes Electrocutioner out of the upper story window, causing him to fall to his death. Batman augments his own suit with the dead mercenary's gloves. Once at the meeting room, Joker destroys a hopefully empty building in front of the Dark Knight, sending him into a rage. However, Bane overpowers him. Batman fights the venom-empowered monster on the rooftops, but is interrupted by police gunfire. Bane uses this chance to escape, but not before using a rocket launcher to blow Joker off the roof, forcing Batman to save him. After the police take Joker into custody, this is where he starts his recruitment of Harley Quinn. Bane soon becomes the biggest issue Batman is facing, who is aware that Bruce Wayne is Batman. The Dark Knight is directed to the bridge, where Firefly is causing issues. After defeating the villain, Batman discovers what has happened to the Batcave. Bane had laid siege to it, leaving Alfred near death. With the aid of his new electric gauntlets, he's able to shock Alfred back to life, who, at first, was against his battle with the mercenaries, disapproving of his vigilantism as a whole, realizes that Batman is what's needed to stop them. It's discovered that Joker is leading yet another riot at Blackgate Prison, where Batman has his last confrontation with Bane for the game. Joker has set up a trap to attempt to force Batman to violate his no-killing rule. However, Batman is able to thwart the trap, temporarily stopping Bane's heart, which would allow the Joker to be saved from the trap he willingly put himself in. Once the Joker is freed, Batman revives Bane, who then injects himself with a modified version of Venom, causing him to become an even more violent and hulking version of himself. However, the Venom compound has the convenient side effect of memory loss, which after Bane's defeat renders him unable to recall Batman's true identity. Eventually, Batman tracks the Joker down to the in-prison chapel, where he beats the clowns senseless, unknowingly starting a long and twisted future with this madman. Arkham Knight is the final game in the series, and it raises the stakes to a level unseen previously. Scarecrow is back from Arkham Asylum and plans to release an incredibly potent and deadly version of his fear toxin. Alongside the Scarecrow is the enigmatic Arkham Knight, who provides a substantial military force to back up Scarecrow's plan and seclude 3 islands from outside help. Batman faces his greatest challenge yet: the apocalyptic plan of Scarecrow, the well-armed militia force, and Gotham's various smaller criminals who are taking full advantage of the neutered state of Gotham's police force. Batman's first task is to track down Poison Ivy, who has been taken hostage by Scarecrow and the Knight. After finding her and escorting her back to the police headquarters, Batman begins his war against the criminal forces of Gotham, vowing to bring them all in before the night is over. The Dark Knight is able to track down Scarecrow's initial attempt at spreading the fear toxin to Ace Chemicals, and, after fighting through the compound, creates a reducing agent to limit the blast of the fear gas. He's successful in neutralizing it, but not before succumbing to the toxin himself, witnessing the Joker before him, who seemingly shoots him in the head. A flashback to some time before the events of Arkham Knight shows us that Joker's blood was able to infect several other people in Gotham, all now exhibiting Joker-like traits. Batman and Robin are working diligently to find a cure to this illness, and hopefully save these people. After awakening from the hallucination, Batman quickly makes his escape from Ace Chemicals. Barbara Gordon, Batman's Oracle, is kidnapped by the Knight, and unable to find her, Batman is forced to continue to hunt down Scarecrow. As the story progresses, it's discovered that Scarecrow is working with someone by the name of Simon Stagg, a rich pharmaceutical business tycoon who's parked his airships above Gotham. After investigating the compound, Batman discovers the technology behind Scarecrow's plan, something called a cloudburst. After getting a dose of fear toxin and Scarecrow making his escape, Batman finds out Barbara's whereabouts. Upon reaching her, Barbara appears to kill herself after being exposed to fear toxin. Batman and Alfred are devastated from this. However, the Dark Knight is able to steel himself for a moment and figure out that Ivy may hold the secret to stopping the cloudburst. Batman delivers Ivy to the oldest tree in Gotham, while also freeing ancient roots from the underground. After getting the Batwing access to Founders Island, they begin searching for the cloudburst. While reviewing its search results, Batman is contacted by the Joker quarantine base. Harley Quinn has taken it over, forcing Batman to save Robin and the others. Quinn releases the pseudo-Jokers, which forces Batman and Robin to take them down, All the while, Batman is having flashbacks to Jason Todd's torture and eventual murder at the hands of the Joker. Upon returning to the main area, we see that all the pseudo-Jokers are dead, having been shot. It's revealed that one of the patients, Henry, was in fact infected, despite initial beliefs that he was immune. It's the revelation that Batman, too, is still infected with the Joker's blood that culminates in Henry's suicide, seeing Batman as the ultimate Joker. Batman locks Robin inside the remaining containment cell while finishing his work back in Gotham. After the militia discovers Ivy's whereabouts, Batman attempts to take her back to police headquarters. However, the Knight detonates the cloudburst, releasing a massive cloud of fear toxin across the islands, which also disables the Batmobile. The detective is forced to retrieve a power cell from Stag's airship, allowing the Batmobile to function again. Dark Knight travels onto the island to find another plant system for Ivy to use against the toxin. After finding it, Batman is brought back up to the surface, where he does battle with the Arkham Knight's tank, resulting in the defeat of the Knight. Ivy uses all of her power to absorb the cloud, resulting in her death. Batman learns that Gordon has contacted the police via encrypted SWAT comms, which leads him underground once again, and is able to find the underground militia base, where he and the Knight have their final confrontation. It's revealed that the Arkham Knight is Jason Todd, not having actually been killed by the Joker, to Bruce's shock. After forcing the Knight to flee, Batman and Gordon, who was previously taken hostage by the Knight, travel up to the top of an unfinished tower, where Barbara Gordon is revealed to also still be alive. Gordon is taken away by Scarecrow while Batman fends off militia tanks. After surviving the assault, Barbara is delivered to the police headquarters, where she gets to work as Oracle again. After defending the police headquarters from an all-out assault by the militia, Oracle discovers that the movie studio has been broken into. Upon arriving there, it's discovered that Scarecrow has taken Robin. Scarecrow instructs Batman to go to a storage location, disarm, and surrender himself. After arriving at the long-abandoned Arkham Asylum, Batman is carted into Scarecrow's lair, where Jim is forced to remove Batman's cowl, revealing him to the world as Bruce Wayne. Scarecrow injects Bruce with his fear toxin, causing him to have a mental battle with the Joker, and ultimately succumbing to the clown. However, with a second dose of toxin, the Joker persona that had taken over Bruce is beaten back down and allows Wayne to assume control again. Bruce ultimately defeats Scarecrow with his own weapons. After apprehending the last of Gotham's villains, Batman returns to Wayne Manor, which explodes shortly after he enters it, seemingly killing him and Alfred. Sometime later, a mysterious figure appears on the roofs of Gotham, ready to strike fear into the criminal underworld once again. The plot of the Arkham series overall is a story to be reckoned with. It wasn't afraid to make bold decisions. It incorporates villains and storylines from various sources into its style seamlessly. And to me, it's probably the greatest piece of Batman media, besides the Nolan trilogy. Of course, it's almost impossible to talk about Arkham without also talking about the Nolan movies, as I've already made a few mentions about it anyways. You can see the echoes of especially The Dark Knight in the smaller aspects, and some of the more direct aspects. Batman's detective vision in Asylum throughout Night is essentially the high-frequency sonar vision Batman has in The Dark Knight. The more combat-oriented nature of the Batmobile in Night is most likely a result of taking more notes from the militarized nature of the Tumbler. And like The Dark Knight Rises, Arkham Knight features an occupied Gotham City as well. Arkham Knight also seems to borrow from Batman Begins, having a cloud of fear toxin enveloping a part of Gotham. But the two Batman franchises differ in a symbolic way. You see, in the Nolan trilogy, Bruce never planned to be Batman for very long. He wanted to be a vigilante long enough for Gotham to be inspired and to take an open stance against crime on their own. Once that was fulfilled, he was done with his days of running around, dressed as a bat. Harvey Dent was supposed to be the new face of crime fighting in Gotham, without wearing the mask. That failed. However, after the Joker killed off most of the crime bosses in Gotham, and Batman took the blame for Harvey's death, this new era of Gotham that Bruce so desperately wanted was achieved, albeit with Batman being seen as the villain and not being able to have his relationship with Rachel either. In the Arkham series, Bruce Wayne doesn't seem to want to necessarily quit being Batman anytime soon. His rogues gallery is constantly causing issues, so his crime-fighting days are just as well endless at this point. Even after Joker's death at the end of City, Batman doesn't hang up the cowl and enjoy retirement. He's actively waiting for the power vacuum to collapse and the next big player to make their move. In the Nolan trilogy, Bruce Wayne still has his human side. He still wants to be Bruce Wayne. In the Arkham series, I get the sense that Bruce Wayne is slowly but surely taking the back seat, more and more for Batman. In Arkham, Batman is the actual face, Bruce is the mask. This, of course, isn't a new concept. This has been a theory and actual established story beats for many iterations of Batman. At the end of The Dark Knight Rises, Batman dies, allowing Bruce Wayne to finally live a life free of Batman, like he wanted in The Dark Knight. At the end of Arkham Knight, Bruce Wayne dies, allowing Batman, or the Demon, to become front and center. The Arkham series also differs from the Nolan trilogy in how it handles its villains and technology. Arkham isn't one to shy away from the more comic book-like and paranormal aspects. Given the existence of metahumans like Poison Ivy, Copperhead, and Clayface, or highly advanced technologies like those found with Mr. Freeze or the Riddler, and paranormal aspects such as the Lazarus Pit, Solomon Grundy, and Ra's al Ghul. Though there is obviously some attempt at making these characters look more gritty and real-world in the games, grounding them to a degree, obviously taking inspiration from Nolan. But overall, I'm thankful that the Arkham series allowed itself to have a more exaggerated reality to it. Gameplay-wise, this is where the Arkham series shines the absolute brightest. There were many ways Rocksteady could have botched this series. There are many ways they could have made it a chore to play. Because of the beat-em-up nature of these games, Rocksteady could have went the route of your typical fighting game and forced you to play more like Mortal Kombat, rather than a hack and slash. Having to remember button and stick combinations to perform basic moves. Instead, we thankfully got a simplistic combat system. With an Xbox controller, you hit X to attack, Y to counter, and that's all you really need. Of course, you have button combinations at your disposal, but for those of you who don't care for that style of play, this game allows you to approach it with the most simple moves available. For those of you who want to execute more advanced combat moves during your encounters with criminals, you're more than free to do that. This is what I love about the gameplay. Easy to pick up, but a challenge to master. I believe it is this gameplay that made the Arkham series almost addicting to play. In its simplicity, it is able to achieve a rhythm that defines the game. Press the attack button and watch Batman respond. If you're about to land a critical hit or reach the number of moves it takes to start performing combos, the game will slow down briefly. In that still moment, the game lets you catch up to the action and anticipate the hurt Batman is about to lay down. It subsequently allows you to quickly get a layout of a battlefield and plan your next hit, or get ready for that counter. It's this gameplay loop that makes the Arkham games absolutely satisfying to play. Even though you're only pressing one or two buttons and the game fills in the rest, the rhythm and flow of the combat makes the simple act of pressing a button feel like you really are delivering that punch or kick, or twisting that leg, or shattering that solar plexus. Your mind tunes itself to this rhythm, and seeing Batman respond to your inputs in the fluid motion of his combat hits that dopamine like nothing else. The best way I can describe this feeling to anyone who hasn't played this game is, it's like pulling off that perfect drift in a racing game, or getting a headshot in multiplayer. That's practically the only way I can describe the feel of Arkham combat. And as you rack up that combo meter, the intensity of the battle ramps up. You're scanning the battlefield looking for the next enemy to counter, or for the opponent you need to avoid until you have a special move you can use to take them out. This is how it makes you feel like Batman. It trains you to think like the world's greatest detective, to look at the combat zone, and with only a few seconds, lay out a plan of attack. Arkham Asylum in a vacuum, as it was when it originally released in 2009, was a masterpiece. Technically speaking, you could say it was a companion piece to The Dark Knight. Sure, there was a Batman Begins game in 2005, but compared to Arkham Asylum, well, there is no real comparison. It's night and day. I don't want to dog on the actual movie game too hard because this game no doubt laid some of the foundations to the Arkham series. Gameplay-wise. Maybe. Sorta. Kinda. Ish. Arkham Asylum introduced us to a world where Batman wasn't a side-scrolling, highly limited punching and kicking machine. Where Batman didn't climb ladders like this. Asylum gave us a Batman that embodied everything we came to know and love about the Caped Crusader, from his various animated and some live-action iterations. With the aid of Batman's true voice, Kevin Conroy, Asylum showed us what Batman could be as a game, that we could be the Batman. The combat was unlike anything else at the time. It was fluid, intuitive, and just damn fun to do. I don't know if the fluid and easy style of the combat was Rocksteady's original plan, but I'm almost completely certain that once they play tested it, it hit that sweet spot, and they knew they had captured the perfect combat system for Batman. A lesser developer most likely would have made the combat encounters closer to that of a QuickTime event. Real-time action, like what we have in the Arkham games, was paramount to its success. I know I personally wouldn't have been able to even enjoy it for a second if the gameplay mechanics were anything other than what they are. It's the same reason I also like Metal Gear Revengeance. It has real-time hack-and-slash combat. From every satisfying punch to every perfectly timed counter, to flawless execution of combo tricks, the hand-to-hand combat, while simple, feels like every button hit is meaningful. Now, the traversal of Arkham Asylum when compared to City or Night is... it's hard to go back to that game. The grapple is limited. You might find yourself trying to initiate a speed boost on it like you can do in City and Night. On top of this, there aren't many tall areas you can climb up to in order to give yourself a longer glide. You'll be doing a lot of walking and running. Of course, this series had to start somewhere, and I cannot hold the limited traversal methods against it. Besides, most of the game takes place inside interiors. You aren't doing a lot of gliding anyways. Arkham City took all the mechanics of the first game and fleshed them out to, at the time, perfection. The grapple hook now being able to speed boost, allowing near continuous gliding. The dive bomb giving you an in-flight speed boost or a faster way to land than in Asylum. The gadgets alone dwarf Asylum's arsenal, giving the player more tools to experiment with and perform combos. However, one thing to note when compared to Origins or Night, City can be a bit of a chore to travel across. It's not the worst thing in the world. Not like some games. Overall, if you're going to play an Arkham game from the PS3, Xbox 360 era, Play City. There's not much to say about Origins gameplay-wise. It's nearly beat for beat Arkham City, but with a bigger map, which some of it is literally just City's map, and fast travel. The story is alright, but could have been a lot better. Combat does feel ever so slightly off, at least to me. I've heard that the combat was balanced around the electric gauntlets, which I personally believe is the case, because once you activate them, it becomes a breeze. Arkham Knight is the culmination of every mechanic in the series, refined and perfected to its absolute best. One mechanic in Arkham Knight that is not only my favorite combat element from any game, it also took the strategy of encounters to a whole new level: the Fear multi-takedown system. Not only does this look and feel extremely cool, you can develop entire plans around it. Take down this group of enemies in this order, slip inside a vent, pick off a singled out person, set off some explosive gel, causing the group to check out the noise. They gather up, then take them out. When a gameplay mechanic allows you even more freedom and fun of how to engage in a combat situation, there's nothing else like it. I cannot sing the praises of the multi-takedown system enough. It is one of the biggest things that makes you feel like Batman, turning an impossible situation of heavily armed thugs into a groaning pile of bodies in mere seconds, all while looking extremely cinematic. Batman's arsenal is the biggest it's ever been, and with it, you can experience what Batman is best known for: planning. Setting up your enemies with malfunctioning weapons, freeze mines and smoke bombs, having it all take place in a matter of seconds, and coming out on the other side without a scratch on you. This is exactly what a game about the world's greatest detective should be. Now, the Batmobile in Arkham Knight provided another source of sheer fun, rocketing your way through Gotham at unsafe speeds, ejecting out of it at velocities that should send Batman's spine through his feet, and the thing turning into a tank? Nothing has even come close to this level of cool since the Batpod exploded out of the tumbler. Of course, Arkham Knight has Batmobile combat sections, which many people didn't like at all. Personally, I don't mind them, and in some cases, I do actually enjoy them. I find the multitasking of Batmobile encounters to be a good challenge. Though I'm not fond of the Cobra tank battles. Hit-and-run tactics is a bit annoying. Graphics-wise, it's actually Asylum and Knight that are the two most distinguished. Asylum is going for that more eccentric feel. The characters, costumes, and level designs all have a more comic book feel to them. Exaggerated proportions, movements, and overall atmosphere of the game. The art itself definitely takes inspiration from the gothic feel of Batman from the comics. Arkham Knight, while not having nearly the comic book feel to it, is able to achieve something else. The sheer fidelity of the lighting is on another level. Hell, Arkham Knight is like 10 years old already, and looks like it came out yesterday. Granted, that's largely due to modern graphics not actually progressing that much further, but Knight definitely tries to go for a more real-world look. City and Origins are both in that transitional stage, where they want to have a gothic comic book feel to them, but also want to have that true-to-life look as well. By no means are these two games bad graphically, but Asylum and Knight show that when you dedicate yourself to an artistic choice, it can benefit the project greatly. One small detail that adds a lot to the feel of the game is the wholly comic book elements of the combat, such as the streaks of light that trail behind Batman's movements. Not only do they make the action feel like they hit harder, but it also allows the player to track Batman's movements easier. On top of this, the smack and pow-like effects when a thug does get hit just makes it all the more satisfying. The music of Arkham fits it perfectly, like how Hans Zimmer's score for the Dark Knight trilogy does, or how Martin O'Donnell's score is immaculate for Halo. Now, I have to admit, I can't tell you what most of the soundtrack from the Arkham series sounds like, but While you're driving, gliding, or fighting enemies, the music fits those moments well. So well, in fact, that you don't notice them as much, because they blend in that good. However, I can say this, Origin's menu music is my favorite of the four. The only scores I can recognize during gameplay is Arkham City's main theme and its weapons acquirement theme. It helps that both these songs play in key moments, often when there is no dialogue and attention is being drawn to the action on screen.
Oracle. Strange is launching missile strikes on Arkham City from Wonder Tower. You shut this place down. Joker's taken Talia. I'm going after them.
You can't. Hundreds will be killed. I need your help to stop the attack.
He'll kill Talia.
You need to think this through. Batman can't let all these people die.
My tracker's not activating. Reroute all Wayne Tech satellites to boost the signal.
I can't do that. I realize it is difficult, Sam. But you need to decide if one life is worth sacrificing to save 1,000.
Don't do this, Alfred.
Batman must save Gotham. I'm sorry, but deep down, you know I'm right.
Oracle, do not lose Talia's signal. Okay, the tower's locked down. No way in without the codes. One of the choppers will be...
All units coordinated. What the...
City's theme perfectly matches the ever-encroaching deadline of Protocol 10 and Batman's own potential death. It also encapsulates that feeling of stoicism in the face of tragedy, Batman forcing himself to do the right thing, saving countless lives, rather than a singular person. City's theme is the perfect mixture of Zimmer's work from The Dark Knight and Nick Arundel's work on the Arkham series. Honestly, you could interchange them and never notice anything wrong. Each have their distinct style, but each work well with one another. However, the score overall of the Arkham series is as best as I can describe as supplemental. It usually isn't in your face or overpowering. Rather, it's there to accent the moment-to-moment gameplay. It'll quicken and get more front and center when you silently take down an enemy to make that action feel more impactful.
I've got the door!
In video games, gameplay is the most important aspect of it. Everything else is secondary. To quote old school Bungie, it has to be fun before it can be good.
This space needs to be fun before it's pretty.
I think the composer understood this. The music shouldn't be overpowering every moment that we're fighting, gliding, running, or driving around Gotham. It should be there when needed. But like Batman disappearing into a vent after taking down a bad guy, you know it's there. You're just not sure where exactly, until it strikes. Voice acting is of course perfect. Both Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill's respective roles of Batman and Joker are on full display.
Take my blood, for example. I wish somebody would. This stuff is killing me.
Why should I care?
Because now, there's a teeny little bit of me in you too, Bats. Oh, come on. Don't tell me it's not what you always wanted.
The door was torn off during the crash. If I can find where it came to rest, I can determine exactly what happened. The hinges. The door must have been opened before the crash. Oracle got out. I need to examine the reconstruction, pinpoint where she landed.
The background voices of the thugs help to fill the world to the brim with personality. Funny, sarcastic, and vile things are heard over the local radio chatter Batman intercepts while on his crusades.
Did you see the look on that cop's face when he turned the corner and saw us? Ha! I think he ran all the way back to GCPD. Have you seen Batman's car? It turns into a tank. Where the hell does he get that stuff? Well, it's obvious. He's government funded. I think our radar console's faulty. Too sensitive or something. What do you mean? Well, I'm pretty sure I just saw our turret taking pot shots at a bird.
I'm aware that some aren't a fan of Jim Gordon's voice changing in Night, but I am a fan of Breaking Bad, so I'm biased in favor of Mike voicing Gordon.
How's the evacuation going?
Last bus crossed the city limits an hour ago. I'm just glad my little girl got out when she did. Now the real work begins.
The changes to Scarecrow's voice from Asylum to Night was also, I feel, necessary. It worked in Asylum due to the more cartoonish style of the game, but for an entry as gritty and serious as Night, Scarecrow needed to have a much more intimidating feel. And the original voice in Arkham Asylum, it didn't have it.
Poor little bat, you're in my world now. You cannot escape my gaze. You will die here.
What makes the Arkham series great, even its weakest link, Origins, is that Kill the Justice League exists. As badly as Kill the Justice League pissed on the grave of Arkham's Batman, it did do one thing in its immense failure and character assassination. It makes me appreciate Asylum, City, Origins, and Night much more. Kinda like how I appreciate Lord of the Rings, Star Wars 1 through 6, Star Trek TNG through Enterprise, even more now because of their garbage modern iterations. All in all, the Arkham series has been one of the biggest landmark games in the history of media, and I can't thank old Rocksteady enough for making them. I still play them to this day. I still enjoy every second of them. If you have yet to experience this series, just drop whatever's in your hands, a pane of glass, a priceless Fabergé egg, your own child, and play these games.
never let me catch you this easily. What are you really after?
Protocol 10 is ready to begin. This demonstration used just 5 ounces of my latest toxin. Gotham, this is your only warning.
He's won. There's nothing we can do. Bruce is dead. It's gone. They're all gone. If you can hear this, send help, please.
Whoever this guy is, he's a symbol of an army. I need an